Following the release of the Madone earlier this year, Trek has just released their second high-profile road bike in the form of the new Domane. This is the fourth generation of Domane, and for those that don't know, the Domane sits in Trek's road range as their endurance offering. It's seen a number of updates in a whole host of areas, so I've picked out 6 key features which I think are worth knowing about. Let's get into them. First up, let me run you through the lineup. Trek will continue to offer 3 levels of Domane: the SL, the SLR, and the RSL. The SL and SLR are identical, except from the carbon that's used to build them up. The SL utilises Trek's 500 series carbon, and the SLR utilises the 800 series carbon, which Trek say is not only lighter, but also stiffer. Now, that 800 series carbon can also be found on the RSL. Trek has transferred their endurance geometry from the previous generation to the new generation, but opted for a more aggressive geometry on the RSL, and you can find out more about that RSL later on in the video. So in terms of the models that are going to be available, the SL is going to be available in 5 different builds: a 105 mechanical build, a 105 Di2, an Ultegra Di2, an ETAP Rival, and an ETAP Force. And onto the SLR, and that will be available in 6 builds: a 105 Di2, an Ultegra Di2, a Dura-Race Di2, an ETAP Rival, an ETAP Force, and an ETAP Red. The RSL is only available as a frame set. One of the most notable advancements is the reduction in weight. Previously, the Domane often felt a lot heavier than it should have done, and this might have been down to some rather complex frame technology we suspect not many people actually utilise, and that frame technology is ISOSpeed. ISOSpeed is Trek's own way of building compliance into a frame by decoupling the seat tube from the top tube to allow an amount of flex which up until now was adjustable. Trek made the decision to make it non-adjustable, which helped in removing a claimed 300 grams from the previous 3rd generation Domane. Now, it's worth highlighting that that 300 gram saving is just from the frame set itself. When you start to look at the full builds, the reductions go even further. Trek have put their bikes on a diet, and the specs of the bikes do reflect this. If you compare a full build 3rd generation SL5 to a 4th generation SL5, there's around a 700 gram saving there, which is actually rather significant. Arguably, Trek has been able to make such savings because the previous generation of Domane was actually quite heavy, nearly 1.2 kilos heavier than a size and spec comparable Specialized Roubaix. And it did carry a whole lot of bulk in the form of 2 ISOSpeed points. However, this time round, you'll only be getting 1 ISOSpeed point, and that will be located in the top tube near the seat clamp. The reason why you'll only be getting 1 ISOSpeed point because the one that was previously found at the front of the bike has been ditched altogether, and that leads me quite nicely onto my next point. Now, another reason why Trek decided to make that ISOSpeed point fixed and not adjustable is because they found that neither consumers or pros were ever actually adjusting it. They'd just set it up and then leave it. Therefore, it made sense for Trek to find the most common setting that was being used and then just have it set up as such from the get-go. Trek says that they ditched the front-end ISOSpeed because as tubeless tyre technology has developed, there was more compliance coming from the tyres than there was the ISOSpeed point, and in the end, basically was just there creating more weight. Trek have actually put a lot of thought into how they set up the ISOSpeed for the different bikes, so it will vary depending on frame size. Trek has maintained the same level of tyre clearance as they did with the previous generation, with a maximum 38C tyre, but bikes will be sold with a 32C tyre as standard. Maintaining this clearance is only a good thing, especially with the growing popularity of tubeless technology. And as we all know, tubeless setups can be a little temperamental at those higher pressures. So being able to run tyres up to a 38C size means that you can run them at a lower pressure, and it means that sealant has a much better chance of doing its job more effectively. Now, punctures to one side, big rubber does mean that you'll get high levels of grip and comfort, which really is exactly what you want on an endurance bike, and also opens up the possibility of a bit of light gravel should the urge strike you. Trek didn't scrap all the features that came along with that previous generation. The internal storage is still there, so you can pack all your ride essentials into the frame and keep it looking very clean and sleek. And to further those clean, sleek looks, they've also got hidden mudguard mounts. But one thing to bear in mind when you do have mudguards fitted is that the maximum tyre size does actually reduce down to a 35C, but on roads, that should still be fine. Now, they aren't the only features that have carried across. You've still got that top tube mounting point for those extra long days in the saddle. T47 bottom brackets are standard across the whole range, meaning servicing is nice and easy. And if you want to opt for just a frame set, both the SL and SLR frame sets are compatible with a mechanical group set. It's only the RSL that isn't. Finally, onto the RSL. It's only available as an electronic-only frame set, and it is very much targeted to the pros. It ditches the endurance geometry and opts for a 4cm lower head tube to make it more in line with the other race-orientated bikes in Trek's road lineup, such as the Madone and a Monda. Tyre clearance also slims right down to a 35C. It loses the mudguard mounts, the internal storage, and the top tube bag mount. It's basically been designed to win Paris-Roubaix, and clearly, when the bike was used earlier this year, Elisa Longa-Borghini found some pretty decent success when she won the race, so it's fair to say they were successful in the bike that they built. On to price then, and I'm sure this is going to get a whole lot of you fired up, but the prices here in the UK are going to range from £3,300 all the way up to £12,500, and over in the States, that's going to be $3,500 to $13,200. Do let me know your thoughts on this latest offering from the American brand. Is there enough here to get you excited? Be sure to drop all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I'll see you again very soon.